Hey, welcome everyone to the Lords of the Screen podcast. This is the very first episode. If you're joining us from the Kentucky Seasonal, that's who we formerly used to be, podcast formerly known as the Seasonal. But we're an entertainment podcast for those of you just tuning in or just finding the podcast. We're film review and news podcast, but we're going to talk about all kinds of different things, entertainment, video games, actors, actresses, what's going on, just anything, how our day is going. So I thought I would introduce you guys, since this is sort of a soft reboot. I'm Kevin Folks, and I'm joined by my two buddies here, Kevin Rice, hello.
How you doing?
And Nick Birch. Nick, hi.
You.
Yes, so we are three white Texas boys. Don't turn off the podcast. Don't turn off the episode yet.
I promise we're woke.
We're woke. As a,
hashtag woke.
We're good people. We're woke people. Trust us. Just keep listening. But anyway, I guess...
Whoa.
the premise of today's episode and the first episode of our little reboot of the podcast was to kind of just get everyone on board with what we want to do, why we like films, why we want to talk entertainment, just how we came to be as friends and what the show's going to be about. So I think I wanted to start off by saying, Kevin, we met in college, right?
Yeah, it was our film production 101 class.
Film production 101
was where we met,
and that was Professor Stanley, right?
That was O'Brien Stanley, a wonderful man. Obviously, I'm sure most of the people listening here don't have any idea who this guy is, but for me, he was probably one of the most passionate teachers I ever had. Dude was absolutely in love with movies and movie making, and really did just a wonderful job instilling that passion onto his students. Had a great time in his classes.
I agree 100%, man. He kind of saved my college career.
Is that right?
It was really difficult for me to focus on just the more like, all the basic bullshit you have to take in college, chemistry 101 and blah, blah, blah and all that. And I just wanted to focus on the things I wanted to focus on, and that comes with having ADHD, obviously. But, and it was very difficult for me to complete those courses. And I had to sit down with him one day because he was also my advisor. I got very lucky that my film professor was my advisor, which was great. And he just kind of taught me through it. And he was like, look, I know you want to take all my classes, all my film courses, but like, you really have to buckle down or you're not going to make it out of here. And he was just a great mentor. And like, I love doing films with him. If he ever happens to listen to this, I just want to say thank you, O'Brien. Wonderful film professor.
Absolutely.
I think you inspired a lot of students like me and Kevin. But going back a little bit, Nick, now Kevin and I obviously shared some courses together. But I didn't meet Nick, and I guess Kevin didn't meet Nick until he came to work at the same place as you guys, right?
That's right, yeah. Mm-hmm. See, I guess one really thing we need to preference here is that Kevin and I are what you would consider old people.
By the internet standards, we're geriatrics.
Whereas Nick is a wee little baby boy. So
I'm starting to get kind of old by internet standards because
that's true.
The Zoomers and stuff, yeah. Because I'm on the younger side of millennial. They're on the older side of millennial. So we've at least got the millennial period.
Yeah, I like to consider myself an elder statesman of the millennial generation.
That's pretty accurate. Yeah. Yeah, I'd say so.
we have all three flavors of millennial on the show. We don't have any Zoomers though. We'll have to get a Zoomer guest.
No, we don't. We're fine.
We haven't even had a Zoomer guest. I think my fiance is like on the cusp technically. She's like a little bit younger than me, and I think she's like, depending on who you ask, she could be considered a Zoomer or millennial.
We'll have to get a Zoomer guest and a Boomer guest and have them fight it out.
Oh God, a Boomer guest.
Boomer versus Zoomer films.
We're just gonna put the whole thing to bed that day.
Yeah.
Are we gonna get like a actual Boomer or just like a mentally a Boomer?
I could get like a Gen Xer masquerading as a Boomer.
Yeah, because that's definitely what I've learned from the internet recently. Is Boomer is a state of mind.
It's very true. It's very true. Going back to our history lesson, though, I met Nicholas at a D&D game, which was really awesome. Nick, you were actually our dungeon master, even though you were the youngest person there. So you got to teach a bunch of old geriatric nerds how to play Dungeons and Dragons, even though you were like young 20s, like 21 or something, right?
Well, and that's because my dad is to this day. I like to actually say this is kind of a funny thing. I don't know if I've even said it on the podcast. I'm actually a third generation gamer.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah. So my dad he's a big D&D nerd going back to when he was in high school in like the late 80s and early 90s, and so whenever I was younger, I got to be around when him and his friends, he still plays with his friends from high school and stuff to this day.
That's awesome.
That is really cool.
Yeah, and I got to grow up being around that and seeing it, and I always wanted to play. So my dad said, "When you're 13, you can play with us." That was the age I was finally old enough to be a part of it.
Now he let you start smoking at 10 though, so that was kind of weird.
Yeah. Well, I got to drink my first Shiner Bock when I was 10, and 13 was when I was finally old enough and mature enough for D&D.
Wow.
My dad did not let me drink at 10 years old.
Yeah, so I think I met Nick. I was so full disclosure, we all work in local television. Desperate cities, but all in local TV. So I met Nick when I was directing a morning show here at the station I work at, and Nick was a fresh off the street 18-year-old little chubby cheek cherub coming in to run cameras for me, and it was terrible. Just first day off the street, no training whatsoever, put him running cameras live on a show. And I think I yelled at you that first day, right?
Oh yeah, you did. This is small market TV though. Like that's just the shit that happens. Is you get kind of thrown into it, and like I remember there was like all these terms being thrown around.
Right. Yeah. I think I was telling you what truck right, truck the camera right. I don't know what that means.
I didn't know what trucking a camera meant, and now I know it just means roll it that direction. That's all it means. But I didn't know that. So I have this guy in my ear saying truck right, and I'm like, I don't know what that means. And then I get yelled at.
And I'm so glad that when I started working in TV, Kevin Rice wasn't my boss, because I did some very stupid, questionable things as well. I believe I let some random strangers in the station because they told me they were on the show.
Oh, wow.
This is back when I was working at Fox in the mall, and people from the mall would just walk by and look in. I just let some random guys in, and they had nothing to do with the show. So,
I'm going to totally embarrass an ex-producer named Andy McCall. If you're listening, Andy, hi, how you doing? You know exactly what story I'm about to tell.
I know what story you're about to tell.
Yeah,
too.
Was it? He was the producer for the morning show, and we would have guests on all the time. Well, a clown shows up one day. There's a guy in a clown outfit. And Andy lets him in thinking that he's the guest on the morning show. Nobody had any fucking clue who this clown was. Could have been a murderer, and Andy let him in the building. And yeah, he got in a bit of trouble over that.
I recently told Kate that story, and she had a really good laugh at it. But Andy, if you're out there, I know you're gonna tell everyone the turkey story that has to do with me. Don't worry about it. It's a good story, but we'll let Andy tell it on Facebook. But yeah, so Kevin, going back to us, taking film courses in college and stuff together, we actually made a couple of amateur films.
Amateur films.
Back in the day.
Well, when we were in film school, though, okay, see, here's where I start to sound really old. Kids today don't understand the struggles that we had. I think one of the first films we shot was on Super 8 video.
Yes,
Super 8 film. Whereas, I go back to Lamar, our college, every once in a while. And talk to some of the students, and I look at some of the work they're doing. Their student films, they're shooting in 4K, high definition, After Effects, compositing going on. It's like this looks awesome. I'm so happy that they get to do all that. But then part of me is like, man, you kids don't even know. You don't know the story.
Yeah, we did not have any kind of 4K equipment. I think we barely had like sub HD back then, like maybe 720p or something we could shoot in.
HD was, again, so old. HD was just becoming a thing. As when we were leaving college. It was it was before all of that awesome stuff. So yeah, Super 8 films. I'm trying to think. I did a my senior film was a Stephen King adaptation. I adapted the short story Autopsy Room 4.
Oh, that was so fun with our good friend Stephen McDougal.
Our good friend Stephen McDougal, naked on the operating table. So that was a super fun shoot. I need to go back and watch that film. I don't really like to rewatch anything that I've done because I just know I'm going to rip it apart and all that stuff. But I'm
the same exact way.
Did you ever? And this is really kind of ironic considering the movie. But did you ever finish The Quitter?
No, I quit on The Quitter. Oh, it was such a fun film to make, though. But unfortunately, actually, I didn't really quit. My actors quit, which is kind of funny, considering the name of the film. But that was a really fun film to make with Steven playing a hippie, and we had a lot of really fun projects, man. I know we did a Halloween shoot together. Halloween for for a film contest, right? 48 hour?
No, this wasn't 48 hour. This was called a Exquisite Corpse. Film contest. So what that is one team starts a movie, and then another team will pick up right where they end and continue on the story. And we went through, I think, 5 teams. And yeah, our film was second in line, and it was a Halloween based thing. And yeah, we won. We won a little competition.
Oh, that's super fun. That was such a fun shoot, man. It was great to be a part of that back in the day. I miss those days. We're old now. We barely have time to come together and do this podcast together. I miss the days of whenever we could just hit out to the streets and do some, amateur filmmaking and just have some fun.
Take a camera and just make some shit.
Right, exactly. Now, Nicholas, I don't know much about your background in school. Now, did you plan on doing any sort of filmmaking? Did you make any films, or were you just sort of more focused on local television, or what was your background, man?
So I did actually go to film school at Lamar briefly for a whole 2 semesters. I went, and then I ended up changing over to the broadcasting side of things.
Right.
So I at one point I definitely was planning. I wanted to direct films. That's what I wanted to do. That was the plan. But life ended up having different plans for me, and I ended up landing a job in local TV, and I kind of just stuck with that. But yeah, originally I had planned, but I didn't get nearly as far into it as you, so I didn't get to work with people like O'Brien and things like that the way y'all did. So my experience was a lot different. I got the intro classes where I got to hear some dudes talk about how their favorite films were Pulp Fiction and Fight Club, and one dude really wanted to make action movies, which was cool. I respected that guy a lot. He really just wanted to make movies with explosions and guns.
I remember this was I want to say my junior year. We were making somebody else's film. This was film production 2 or 3, making somebody else's film. And O'Brien, the professor, was so upset that the film we were making was this. I don't even remember the dude's name, but I remember his movie was called The Bus Stop. You remember that, Kev?
Oh yeah, I remember.
And it was literally just the whole short film was just 2 people sitting at a bus stop, and one of them talking about, and pardon the language, about the importance of pussy. And he used that word probably 35 times in a 5-minute short film.
I don't remember that guy's name either, and I was actually the character saying that word over and over.
That's right, you were.
Yeah, I'm glad the footage can't be found, because it's probably awful. Because that guy, I don't know if he was hiding something or had some sort of insecurities, but that script. I mean, O'Brien was a bit of a prude, but the script was just horrible.
He was very upset about because the way it went was everybody submitted scripts, and then the class would vote on three movies to make, and his was one of them. And I remember O'Brien just being very upset, but to his credit, okay, I want the kids to make their art, let's pass or fail, whatever.
He did let him make that movie,
and it was terrible. It was god awful. I forgot you were the actor in that.
Oh God, I didn't, because it was horrible. But,
I bet you didn't, man. Fuck.
Kevin, there's one more old film story that I want you to tell, and it's from a film we did with our buddy Brian called From Pearl to Paul, right? And I want you to tell the story about the gun and you shooting me, you asshole.
So our buddy Brian Gay, local actor, local filmmaker, called Kevin and I to write and shoot a film with him, and it was a psychological thriller where Brian's character was holding Kevin's character hostage, and this real tense kind of cat and mouse back and forth stuff going on, and it ends with Kevin needing to shoot Brian. He's being manipulated to, kill Brian, basically. And we had a prop gun. It was actually, I say prop gun. It was a real gun with blanks. And none of us had ever, I guess, really shot a gun before. I know I hadn't. I don't think you had either, Kev.
No, I had not.
So Kevin was struggling with this gun, couldn't get it to work. And I just said, no, all I gotta do is this. I took the gun, I pointed it right at his feet and started shooting, just pat, 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 pat. And I think you might have pissed yourself, buddy.
It was horrifying. First of all, like, I don't know, we bought blanks for the shoot, and I've never been around blanks or gun, firing at all. And I don't trust it. I'm like, what if one of those blanks is a real bullet, it's going to go straight through my leg. Yeah. And, Kevin, just no fear, grabs the gun and starts firing it off in Brian's house. And absolutely hilarious, man. I'm glad we didn't scare any neighbors to death.
This is also the point where we should say, young filmmakers, don't do that.
Don't get guns with blanks. Don't do that. No.
Blanks can actually be really dangerous.
Very dangerous.
Exactly. Yeah. But we did our thing back in the day. A lot of things we did back in the day. It's not advisable.
But again, this was really kind of before the time where stuff like digital assets, like digital muzzle flashes and stuff like that, those weren't easily accessible back then.
Right, and if they were very
very
amateurish and ugly.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So we just went the the old school practical route and scared the shit out of each other.
Oh man, those are fun times. But I guess going back even further, or maybe not even further, I don't know. I wanted to kind of ask you guys, because doing this show or doing a film show was kind of a given for each of us. We're like, yeah, sure, we can talk about movies. We love movies. We watch them all the time. We can talk about any kind of entertainment, and that's why we should do this podcast. But I was kind of wondering, what sort of brought you guys into the world of movies, or what made you interested in movies to begin with? And maybe you don't even know, maybe you haven't thought about this, but I'll start with you first, Nick. Did it kind of start when you were a kid? Was it from your dad? I know he was an Omega nerd, like you said earlier.
Yeah, so I think that is actually kind of the basis in how I got really into film. Was, like I said, growing up, I had a really big-time D&D nerd as a dad, and he just in general loved fantasy and stuff like that, and I kind of followed in those footsteps, and I got really into films like the Lord of the Rings and things like that, and Star Wars, of course, but eventually, being into this type of thing and being just generally an overall nerd, I eventually got led down the path of watching sci-fi. And as we all know, sci-fi has some of the most just brilliant and masterful displays of filmmaking out there, right? And I think as I dove more into sci-fi, originally purely just based off my desire to see aliens and cool space stuff and things like that, I started understanding more what I was watching and the implications behind the messages in a lot of these movies, and the things against unchecked capitalism and themes that get we see a lot in sci-fi that when I was a kid it was just about the aliens and the space lasers and shit that eventually I started catching on to from seeing so much. I think that, and then eventually getting into anime was a big one too, because it started off as I was watching the Dragon Ball Z's and the Pokemon and things like that, but it eventually led me down, the more, difficult to process sci-fi and things like that are in anime, like Evangelion, and less difficult, but still very, very much considered a piece of art, like Cowboy Bebop and things like that, definitely, I think, helped me down that path for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I really like a lot of those, I guess you would call them starter animes for our generation, back in the day, like Cowboy Bebop or Dragon Ball. The stuff that played on Adult Swim kind of opened up kids to a whole new art form, which I think is really awesome. And I don't know if that's still going on. I know Adult Swim is still going, and I know Toonami is what I meant to say is still going. But yeah, I don't know if kids. I guess nowadays with the internet, you can really just be opened up to anything at any time. But back before the internet took off, we just kind of had what we had on our TV, and then Cowboy Bebop popped up, and you're like, oh wow, there's this awesome new art form. And then that's how I got into it as well, and why I still enjoy anime to this day also. Which is probably why maybe Kevin Rice isn't as much into anime as we are, because he was a little bit older at that time.
Yeah, when Toonami was just starting to come out, I think I was in high school. And the perception for anime at the time was deep nerd. Deep nerd. This was, of course, before a time when nerds were cool. So I didn't really get into anime until college, and even then, it's still my knowledge about anime is still I love the Miyazaki movies, and the limited other movies that I have seen. Obviously, I've seen Akira. Really loved Your Name from a couple of years ago, but most of my anime experience comes from Studio Ghibli.
You mentioned too how it was back then, the nerdiness of anime and stuff. It's funny now, Michael B. Jordan has a coach line that's
right.
Naruto themed.
Yeah.
It's such a different world now.
It really is. It's kind of crazy to see. And, a lot of those celebrities are our age or older or a little bit younger, and they were all getting into the same things that we were getting to at that time. So it's pretty cool to see that nowadays. But I guess moving on, Kevin, what kind of brings you to the world of film, man?
Well, that answer is actually quite simple. My mom is the one to blame for all of this. Because when I was about 10 or 11, she sat me down and showed me The Godfather.
Nice.
Which probably for an 11-year-old is maybe not the most appropriate movie. But she knew that I was
intense.
Yeah, she knew that I was just beginning to show an interest in movies and TV and storytelling. So she said, "Okay, well, let's just start you off with, arguably the greatest film of all time." And I just remember watching that and just being completely blown away. That the whole opening 20 minutes where it just drops you right into that Sicilian wedding is so immersive, and it just whisks you away to another time and place. And I don't think at that point I realized that movies could do that, could absolutely transport you. And so I just fell in love. And later on in the movie, she still loves to tell this story about how just completely freaked out I was when the guy discovers the horse's head in his bed. She said that I spent 10 minutes going, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Just little baby Kevin being traumatized for life. So thanks, Mom. I'll be sure to send the therapy bill your direction. But yeah, so it's my mom. She just absolutely instilled a love of storytelling, art. She was a high school English teacher for 30 years, and has a great love of the arts herself, and just shepherded me down that direction. So there you go. What about you, Kev?
I guess my story in film is a little bit different, because it's my father is he's always been a real outdoorsman, and my brother has always really been into technology but not movies. He's never really followed movies very closely. He's always been sort of a internet, video games, books type guy. He never really got into cinema. So anytime we would watch a movie at my house, my dad and my brother would just kind of be like, and I would just be totally enamored by it. And I would want to talk about it with somebody, and he'd be like, oh, what'd you think about this? Or what'd you think about this? And they would literally have nothing to say. They just weren't interested. And, my dad's biggest, film love, I guess, was John Wayne movies and westerns, which are good and they have their place in film history for sure, but that's kind of his only deal. He kind of only liked those films back in the day. And so whenever I was finally old enough to start going to the movies by myself, and just kind of, either with my driver's permit, my brother would go hang out with his friends, and I would just go to the theater and see something, and I don't know, I kind of, that fascination kind of came just from not having anyone else to speak about it to, and all of these things from seeing all these movies floating around in my head, until I finally met some different friends in middle school and high school that I could actually talk movies with, because for the longest time I couldn't talk to them with anybody except just me and my toys or my imaginary friends. So yeah, it just wasn't an interest that my family has ever had, and so it kind of just grew from that. And I have them here. You can probably hear it on my microphone. I have a big Ziploc bag, and I've been collecting my movie stubs since 2003.
Wow.
And so I have movie stubs in here dating back to like Finding Nemo, Passion of the Christ, Shrek 2, all the way up to 2021. Now I don't have very many stubs from 2020, unfortunately. Which really actually makes me sad, because there were a lot of good streaming movies that came out, but I can't, I can't save the movie stubs anymore. But I was just gonna dig through this bag and like pull out random stuff and see. Oh yeah, actually I found the Shrek 2 ticket, man.
Wow.
Oh wow, 2004, 13th, 2004, 06/13/2004, Shrek 2.
That's crazy.
At 7:40 p.m. Then I have, let's see what I hear. Oh, The Village. Wow, man, this is also 2004.
Man. That was the end of the end of my love affair with M. Night Shyamalan was The Village.
Was it?
Yes. A lot of people's.
Yeah.
I did not like The Village either at the time.
I liked 2/3 of it. And then it just went completely off the rails. I think that was really where he started to focus too much on, I'm the twist guy, I gotta have a twist. And it just took one twist too far for me. And then Lady in the Water happened, and it was all fucking downhill from there.
Oh god, I've got Transformers 3 from 2007.
Oh, nice.
Oh no, so bad. But I have Cloverfield here as well.
Hey, there you go.
Jan 18th, 2008. Man, I mean, I have so many cool things in here. I've seen Harry Potter. Kate recently, I think for my birthday or maybe like Christmas a year or so ago, she brought me a big like book where I can actually put all of these in like chronological order.
Awesome.
And like just kind of like put them all together. And I really need to do that someday. And I think I'll do that, and I'll post some of these to our Lord of the Screen Facebook page and Twitter and all of our social media that we're starting up, because it's just like at the time I was just kind of collecting them for no reason, and now that I pull these out and I look back at them, I'm like, man, this is so dope.
That's a
like
treasure.
to have
That's a treasure.
All of these memories, because obviously between the three of us we've seen thousands and thousands of movies. I mean, I don't think there's any way we could possibly remember, all of them. So it's cool to just pull these out of the hat here and see what I've seen and kind of remember what I've seen too.
Yeah.
And oh god, Predators. That was interesting. But so much fun stuff in here, man.
So
Borat.
let me ask you guys this: have you ever walked out of a movie? And if so, what was the movie?
Oh man. Okay. I got close to walking out of Terrence Malick's Tree of Life.
Oh, dude.
But I stuck it out. I got close. It's actually, looking back on it now, and when I rewatch it, I haven't rewatched it in some years. I really love that movie.
Yeah.
But at the time, I couldn't hold my attention to it. If anyone knows Terrence Malick, he's a very abstract filmmaker, to say the least. Give Tree of Life a watch if you like abstract films, or if you really want your love of and devotion of film tested, because you will see real quick just how important a narrative is to you. If a narrative is not that important to you, you'll probably make it through Tree of Life. That was the one for me.
I tend to think that his movies are just over the edge of being too pretentious,
right?
And too artsy, where I love me some pretentious art films, but some of his movies just, okay, Terrence, let's point the camera back at your actors, stop following the butterfly around, and let's move on. But
so the only movie that I can think of that I walked out of was Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter.
Oh wow.
But it was because, and it wasn't because it was bad, and it was. But it was because me and my friends were double featuring Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter and Magic Mike, and we had to leave early to catch Magic Mike.
That is wonderful.
Yeah. I think you made the right choice there.
I think so too. The Magic Mike's probably a better movie for sure.
It was, actually.
I've only ever walked out of one movie. This was me and my friend Martha, friend of the show. I think we all know Martha.
Hey Martha.
Why would you say that name? I'm sorry.
Sick reference, bro.
Yeah, we went and saw it was a remake of The Three Musketeers, except the hook was that this was going to be a martial arts version of the Three Musketeers. And this was back in, God, were we in high school still? I don't remember. So probably around 01, 02. And so this had, did have Orlando Bloom? It had Mina Suvari. I remember that. Mina Suvari was fresh off American Beauty at the time. So Three Musketeers, and the director and the fight choreographer was the guy that did all the fight choreography for The Matrix. So that was kind of what sold me. I was like, okay, yeah, I liked The Matrix. I like the fights. Sure, they can stand in 17th century France. Why not? It did not work, fucking at all. It was terrible. And yeah, we made it maybe half an hour before just said, nope, not doing this. Only movie I ever walked out of.
Man, I for the podcast we reviewed Bad Boys for Life several months ago, and I almost walked out of that one.
The cinematic masterpiece of 2020 that was Bad Boys for Life.
Go back and listen to the Kentucky Seasonal, guys, before we changed our name, and the Bad Boys podcast. It's interesting, enlightening film, truly. So I guess I wanted to ask you guys a question, going back to my old-ass movie stubs and all the way back in the day of the things I've seen. What was the first movie that you guys actually watched by yourself? Like, no parents, no friends, for whatever reason, it kind of drew you to the theater and you sat down by yourself to watch a movie. Now, some people listening might have honestly never done this in the theater. I've talked to people before that they say, I don't go to the theaters unless I go with someone else. Like, going by yourself is weird or whatever. There's like a stigma. But, I mean, obviously, we review movies, so we go by ourselves anyway all the time. But what would be the reason, like your very first movie that you just kind of sat down in theaters and said, hey, I'm going to watch this? What about you, Nick?
I don't know. I have to really think about it. I would probably have to look up movies that came out when I was 16 and I was old enough to drive and go on my own. I can't even tell you off the top of my head.
So it's got to be something in college. From when I was in college in Nacogdoches, Texas, at Stephen F. Austin. They had a little 2-screen theater there, and I'm going to guess it was Kill Bill, Volume 1.
Oh, nice.
Volume 1. I'm pretty sure that, as you say, by myself, without parents or friends. I went to movies with friends all the time in high school, but just by myself so I can really just focus on nothing but the movie. I'm pretty sure it was Kill Bill. And by the way, if you don't go to movies by yourself, do it, man. There's nothing wrong with it, and it's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's a super relaxing activity,
it really is.
I think it's great.
Nobody yapping at you. You don't got to answer questions. If you just watch the fucking movie, you'll get the answer to your question that you're asking right now. So yeah, it's great.
I think I have an answer, and it's a bad one.
Okay, what's your answer?
Go ahead, Nick.
The Immortals.
Ooh,
I'm pretty sure that was one of the first movies I went and saw by myself.
That was a rough movie.
Yeah, that really was. Oh my god,
it's not great.
Yeah, mine was Shrek 2 back in the day.
Shrek 2? That's a much better one.
It is a wonderful movie, man. It's great.
The best Shrek as well. So
absolutely,
definitely the best Shrek.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, that's kind of what brings us to this podcast, why we're here, what we like to do, and yeah, it was fun to go down memory lane with you guys. Yeah. I really enjoyed it. But,
so let's kind of talk about what do we want this podcast to be. We've been potting together for over a year now. So what makes the Lords of the Screen different than what it was?
Different than the Kentucky Seasonal. Yeah. So I guess if I had aspirations for this podcast, when Nick and I and Kevin Valencia started the Kentucky Seasonal, the thought behind it was, hey, let's go to the theater every week and review a film that's currently in theaters, because not many people are doing that, right? You have to take the time investment. You have to spend the money. You have to take the time to see a new film every single week. And that's kind of what I used to do back in college and back when I was single. And, I said I was going to do it for the podcast, and I mostly did. But I think broadening our horizons to just kind of like we said in our intro, to video games, to anime, to things that are just going on that we want to talk about, or even today, just sitting and shooting the shit about, memories. I think that would be a good podcast. And I don't know, and you guys on our social media, you can tell us if that's what you want to listen to, or, if you just want straight film reviews. But I guess to me, the Lords of the Screen should be about entertainment, but it should also just be more avant-garde. We should branch out a little bit. Mm-hmm. What about you guys?
Yeah, well, when you say avant-garde, do you mean performance art? Are we going to run around the field naked and...
Yes.
Okay, well, there you go.
That's episode 2.
Sold. No, yeah, I think this is just going to be a place for the three of us and any of our guest friends that we have on, just to share our love of pop culture, and just sit around the virtual campfire and talk about things we like, whatever it is. I think we've been kind of kicking around the ideas of just like some short form content, like just some, hey, here's an argument about, is Christopher Nolan overrated or not? Yes, he is. And just so stuff like that I think I'm really looking forward to doing. And we'll still do the movie reviews, we'll still do the news as it's warranted, but I think this is going to give us an opportunity to really kind of just expand our horizons a bit, and hopefully the audience will enjoy it. And if you don't,
expand the audience
as well. Sorry, Martha, I love you, but we need more people.
We really do. I think it would also be a good idea to get our audience involved and ask them about, hey, what debate topics do you have? Not just the Chris Nolan debate, but maybe let's talk about Nicolas Cage. Is he good? Is he bad? The ever-ending debate on that, just fun stuff like that. But I think we hit a lot of success in the Kentucky seasonal when we did our brackets, like our Christmas bracket or our Halloween bracket. Those were kind of the biggest episodes we ever had, and we had the most engagement, the most listens, the most people interested. So I think if we did some more brackets, just what we think is the top 10 best movie. We did horror movies for of the last 10 years for Halloween, and that was super fun. We did the best Christmas movie, and we'll probably do that again. Stuff like that again this year.
Still pissed about both of those brackets, by the way.
Yeah.
Because the wrong movies won, but okay, that's fine.
But I'm going to toss it over to you, Nick. What's kind of one thing that you would like to see out of the podcast?
Yeah, I mean, it's been mentioned, but I would like to see some more themed episodes and things like that, where we're less married to the idea of every episode has to come with a movie review. And like Kevin Rice said, fret not, there will be movie reviews still. That's definitely still in our plans. But I think giving ourselves a few less restrictions. I think with the pandemic, it kind of forced our hand a little bit, obviously with the streaming services and things like that we weren't doing before. But I think the goal should be for us to talk about what we want to talk about more than sticking to, marrying ourselves to one format. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
I also think it would be fun, and this is the first time I'm running it by you guys, but even if we did some short form content, let's say that I just watched a movie and I wanted to talk about it, and I did a 5-minute recording on what I thought about it, put it out there, and you guys could feel free to do the same as well. Or maybe it's just something that you and Nick watched, and you guys just get together, have a 10-minute conversation, and put it out there for the audience, and just generate some conversation about it.
Or maybe I want to talk about the newest QAnon conspiracy, and I can just take half an hour and just blitz everybody with that.
We told our audience earlier that we're woke. And, we can't talk about QAnon on the show. But I mean, that would be kind of funny though. So maybe you can. Well. But stuff like that. I think we're starting off on a really strong foundation. I love doing the show with you guys. Absolutely. I think you guys are both super knowledgeable. And so it's just fun to sit and talk film with you guys,
And honestly,
that was my one goal, is to make you think I'm knowledgeable.
Exactly. But honestly, this will get a little maudlin and a little, saccharine. But that's what I've always looked at this as, is just an opportunity to hang out with my buddies and talk shit. So even if 2 people listen, I'm fine with that, because I love spending time with you guys. So there you go.
Whoa.
Embrace the affection, Nick.
Yeah.
Just take it in.
I feel embraced.
Just let it happen.
So everyone remember to go and donate $100 to the Lords of the Screen Patreon on Patreon. We don't have any of that stuff yet. We're not big enough yet. But if enough of you listen, maybe we can shill. If you're looking forward to endless shilling, people listen, please.
There will totally be a market for Lords of the Screen stickers.
It's true, yeah.
New logo comes out, because it's pretty dope.
And people have already accused us of being Disney shills anyway. So Disney, if you're listening, send the check, and we're good. We're fine.
Absolutely. Well, guys, I think that wraps it up for our first ever episode of the Lords of the Screen. All of the Kentucky seasonal listeners that came over that have been enjoying the podcast, and yes, there are some of you. I've talked to some of you. So thank you guys for listening. Thank you for following us over to this new format, to our new show. And all of our new listeners, this is kind of what you can expect in the future. We'll have some fun reviews, hopefully some heated debates. If you want a really good heated debate, go back and listen to our Zack Snyder Justice League podcast that we did. Me and Nick arguing about Superman for like 30 minutes or something.
Yeah.
But, fun times. A little bit too long, but I think that's what you can expect in the future. So, everyone, thanks for listening. We are the Lords of the Screen, and we'll join you next time.